What is going on YouTube? Hayden back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we are focusing on XRP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. Last we left off yesterday, we were basically tracking the small falling wedge patterns that were happening within Bitcoin. As you guys know, we're going to continue from where we left off, basically looking at the third falling wedge pattern that's been forming within Bitcoin. You can see here one, this is the second, and this is the third right here within the falling wedge opportunity that hits this upward sloping channel here, this upward sloping trend line that usually, as you can see by the past two times, breaks bullish here. Obviously, there is still possibility of correction to the downside. We can't, rule that out. But for right now, if things continue to play out how they are currently, there's a very good chance we will see the correction back to the upside very soon, as it's slightly starting to within Ethereum and some of these other cryptos. But I wouldn't count too much on Ethereum seeing the small break to the upside here. I just feel like we should rule this one specifically out because we have broken through top resistances in the past here. We could probably slightly move or tweak the charts up slightly here, but I still believe that we are still within our falling wedge pattern here within Ethereum, so don't let this small break to the upside fool anyone just yet. But XRP, the main crypto, is still within its falling wedge pattern. We're seeing a small reversal up here, and I'll explain why we're seeing that right now, but I don't want to jump the gun just yet because there still is a big chance for a smaller correction to take place now in the near future here, so we are going to be going in depth about that. But regardless, targets are still set pretty darn high within these cryptos that we have to reevaluate, as we are getting very close to seeing the prime decision as to which direction we're going to be seeing these prices move to. Otherwise, guys, today's video is brought to us by NFTDRAFT. We discussed this on the channel about, I'd probably say 3 or 4 days ago. They're basically the future of fantasy sports, superior to daily fantasy football in nearly every measurable aspect. Take league play to another level by adding, collecting, and trading cards, profit from selling cards, or even renting them out during the season. Very cool. You can see how exactly it works, buying a card, NFT syncing, and then creating your own team. So guys, for more information about this NFTDRAFT project, as well as what exactly they do, stick around to the end of today's video where we are going to be talking in depth about them. I've also linked them down in the description below if you'd like to check them out earlier. Otherwise, guys, definitely make sure to smash the like button, turn on post notifications, and let's dive into today's episode. So guys, as you can see, current coin market cap, coins are up. I mean, it makes sense. We've hit a bottom. We actually fell quite a bit the past couple of days here. You can see this big drop from $1 all the way down to 88 cents on XRP, and Bitcoin for the most part fell from 58,000 all the way down to $53,000 within a day. So there's a lot of volume coming into that, but it makes sense that we're seeing a very small reversal back to the upside here. Markets are up about 5.5%, still at 2.58 trillion. Top 10 cryptocurrencies. Everything is starting to correct up. Yes, 10% for the most part. 5% is about average on these cryptocurrencies here, and SHIB isn't really doing much of a movement. Doge up 10%, which is okay too. But really, what we need to look at here is don't be fooled by the small dip to the upside here. I mean, it makes sense to me as to why we're seeing the reversal swing us to the upside here. Usually after big drops, I call it the ripple effect, we do tend to hit bottom supports and bounce pretty nicely off of them, but that doesn't mean we're out of this bearish market just yet. I do believe that most of these cryptos are still headed lower, just short term, especially when comparing XRP to cryptos like Ethereum and Bitcoin, which are still within falling wedges. We're going to be spending probably a little bit more time on Bitcoin today than XRP, but the reason being is because of how beautifully placed out and beautiful this technical indicators are in regards to how much higher we can be moving to. It just seems to be easier to follow Bitcoin right now than some of these other cryptocurrencies. Now, for XRP specifically, I still am very bullish. I mean, if we decide to break out earlier, that would be great. But really, when looking at this, we are in a falling wedge pattern. We are within a much bigger symmetrical triangle here. You can see it. I mean, we can draw it out. You see the first rally up, hits a resistance, corrects lower. We hit bottom support, moving average on the weekly, head up, hit resistance, correct downwards, hit resistance again, and now we're falling down. We're looking for another retest of bottom support here, and then maybe a swing back to the upside to point D. That's ideally what we're looking for. So guys, given the opportunity that we see Bitcoin or XRP decide to break, I will be using Bityard to leverage trade this cryptocurrency. It's very easy to do, and it's pretty much my favorite exchange to leverage cryptocurrency as well as buy long and sell short. They also have a great spot trading website here, which allows you to, switch quickly in and out when using a market order of XRP and Shiba and, all the cryptocurrencies you can see here. They offer hundreds, literally hundreds here. So it's a great opportunity to take advantage of here on their website. But you can see what I like to do is go onto cryptos here, and for XRP, for example, that they do have listed, where is it? In the main area at the bottom here, you can actually leverage this crypto. So when we see the confirmation break above the falling wedge pattern here, or when we retest bottom support and switch bullish, I will be putting a trade in on Bityard. I have linked Bityard in the description down below that you guys can check out as well. But a leverage, I usually trade market. Leverage of 10x here, type in the amount I want to leverage right here on margin. So $900, 10x, you can see the quantity right here, and then click buy long and leverage this coin to the upside here. It's a great way and a great opportunity. We're just waiting for the opportunity to buy in. But if you guys want to practice your skills, they do offer a demo account that you can check out, basically to practice until the point of breakout happens and just get familiar with the website. So I have linked them down in the description. If you sign up with that link and you click mystery box, you will get free cryptocurrency. So check that out too. Now, whether or not we hit bottom support and are heading up right now, or whether or not we have a lower movement to head and then we head up, we're still headed in a positive trajectory. Now, the reason I think we might have hit a bottom, but it really needs to be confirmed with other cryptos like Bitcoin and Ethereum, is because this has been a previous support on XRP. I mean, if I move this line up here on the weekly, you can see how right now we've had, a problem in the past acting as resistance when we were below it, but we've also used it as a means of support earlier, in September, late September here, and you can see how we're coming back down to retest this again. So it seems like this could be a bottom support for XRP on the weekly. But if we did decide to head a little lower, which is still a possibility, I wouldn't rule it out just yet. Regardless, the reversal will happen, and I do believe we will be sending it back up to point D on XRP, whether that hit the bottom or we're going to be hitting the bottom. You can see here in the past how this has acted as a support before. You can see it clear as day here, this double bottom pattern. So you can see it's possible that we have already hit it, and this might cause the correction to the upside. Now, regardless of whether or not we break bullish or bearish just yet, there is still a falling wedge pattern on this coin here. You can see me drawing it out right here. And there is still a downtrend that hasn't been broken yet. This started back November 9th, I believe. Yeah, November 9th. So 20 days now of a downtrend that hasn't been broken on XRP here. And ultimately, after retesting the bottom very quickly within yesterday, we immediately reversed back up and are starting to retest this today currently. You can see right now, whether or not we break through it, this still is acting as a pretty big resistance level right now. So we'll see whether or not we can close above here or get rejected and start to correct lower. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if we see correction once again take us lower. Reason being is because we have cryptos like Bitcoin, which are also having a similar resistance level right now. So moving back to Bitcoin here, you can see the three confirmations of the higher lows forming and the higher highs forming within falling wedge patterns that tend to break fairly bullish very quickly once we retest our bottom, uptrend right here, this upward sloping trend line. So you can see clear as day, it usually takes till the end here, completing the falling wedge pattern before we see a break. At some point, retesting the bottom support level here. Now you can see the interesting thing with this current falling wedge pattern is we did retest the bottom support here, and we've also retested the moving averages on the daily for Bitcoin. Now this is a good sign. This is acting as a strong recovery and a strong support for Bitcoin. I'm not too worried. If we decide to break out earlier than planned, there's nothing wrong with that. I do believe it's going to send us up so much higher than where we are, giving us plenty of opportunity to buy in. So I'm bullish in the next week. I believe regardless of whether or not we head lower, we're heading up, or whether we break here and head up, we're going to be heading up regardless. That's what you guys have to understand. But the way these are playing out usually tends to see more consolidation. So as we're starting to see, there's a lot of resistance right now within Bitcoin as it's retesting its downtrend here that started back November 11th here. So it's been about 20 days as well, maybe roughly 18 days to be exact here. But regardless, it is hitting resistance, and there is some uncertainty that you can see is playing out right now. Big wick right here, big support level right here. So we are getting rejected, and we are trying to break through it here. But regardless of the direction we move to, I wouldn't be surprised, and it might be a little bit easier to see a correction fall. We might see, after 2 days of swings to the upside here, resistance and rejection, and see a pullback back down to bottom support, eventually retesting this uptrend here and breaking bullish. Regardless, we'll know the direction once we confirm whether or not we break outside of resistances and this downtrend here, or whether we break through the upward slope here. I do believe there is a pretty large target set for this movement here. Literally just taking the first run to the upside here, it's an easy target move for the next one, setting us up to seeing prices retest closer to, or all-time highs closer to 80K, which is very exciting. It's basically just allowing this third falling wedge to play out and deciding which direction we move to. Regardless, resistance is happening right now and uncertainty. Ethereum is having a bit of issues right now. Whether or not I scale this up higher, it's still in some sort of falling wedge pattern. I could move this like this. You can see it's for the most part still in a falling wedge here. And you can see there is still a downtrend on this coin here. So I do think there is more rejection and resistance to come here. And we're almost, all the way to complete this falling wedge pattern here. But once we do, we'll get the direction of movement here. Same thing with XRP. I do believe that we're still going to be rejected off this downtrend here that's been forming since, the 8th of November here. But once we correct lower and once we retest bottom support closer to probably, early December, I'm talking like the first week in December, we should see a pretty big break to the upside here. I'm predicting that we do retest bottom supports in this zone, which would be perfect for the way these markets are trending, and then eventually a break to D. That's what I'm looking for, a big run to point D. This is target at about $1.20. This is where the downtrend comes into contact with XRP, which you can see the price does not necessarily like to be retested by this downtrend. We usually break bearish here, but this is target for the movements in the near futures. So everything is still on track now, guys, for XRP as well as for Bitcoin. So definitely just keep an eye out. We're waiting patiently, as with every other YouTuber, for the movement to come, but we are very close to seeing that breakout, and get ready to buy in, as it will, prevail itself very quickly. Otherwise, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. I do want to talk more about NFTDRAFT with you. I want to give a huge shout out to NFTDRAFT for sponsoring today's episode. So guys, NFTDRAFT.io is a fantasy football game using NFTs, and currently they're in beta phase, meaning no advertising or partnerships yet. But currently their platform is a testing ground where a limited number of users play and provide feedback that they use to fine-tune the game for their actual launch in 2022. And with this micro user base, they have averaged over $100,000 a month in sales since launch, which is nuts. And they've also awarded over $100,000 in prizes and generated over $150,000 in secondary market sales. Now, NFTDRAFT.io has truly developed a fantasy football game fit for the next century, and the player experience is about to change for the better. What makes the NFTDRAFT.io game different from the rest is that it's aimed to increase earning opportunities and the joy by injecting parity into the scoring mechanics and team creation. Now, the company sells packs of cards which are linked with professional football players, and users will be able to create their own fantasy football teams using cards they possess. And unlike the traditional games that provide users easy access to identical teams, the NFTDRAFT.io game requires you to own the players you play with. So in this new system, users will be able to move up and down the tournament ranks as individuals, not large segments. Now, their cutting-edge game also rolls out a set of smart features that will enable players to enhance their earnings in the game. And you can strike it big with your multiplayer tournaments and free rolls, and they will return 50% of card sale revenue back to the community, which will create some huge prize pools. There are also those whales out there that optimize their lineups to win every single time. Now you start to see the same redundant teams and setups in tournaments after tournaments. Not only does this put many at a disadvantage, but it also takes some of the fun out of fantasy football. And the folks over at NFTDRAFT recognizes some of these pitfalls and have created a fun new system that incorporates NFT cards that represents each position of your fantasy football team. So let's break down how this new NFT fantasy football system works. A typical fantasy football draft works by having each team manager pick players in order until they have their full team lineup. And with NFTDRAFT, you buy packs of collectible cards that represents all the different positions on every NFL team. And the packs are randomized, so you never know what you'll pretty much get in a pack, and this makes selecting a team much more interesting and fair, as you are only limited to what you can draft by how many cards you own. And the project is built on the Wax blockchain, one of the most favorited crypto ecosystems for collectible cards, and there are 16 positions on 32 teams, which equals a total of 512 cards, and these represent the positions that you will use to draft your team. And on game days, the stats will dynamically show up on the cards, and while graphically the cards don't represent the actual players on each team, the stats will. Now guys, all the tournaments for the first season are free to enter and have big cash prizes to boot. All you have to do is make sure you have enough cards for a full team. Each of the 512 cards has a limit to how many can ever be created, and here on the screen is the breakdown. There are 16 positions found in the game, and there are 5 card rarities, divided as follows for each of the 512 cards. Now each rarity above common receives the following scoring bonus, and this scoring system allows individuals to hold places rather than large chunks of tied players. And these modest scoring bonuses help, but won't dominate the field. Strategy obviously still rules this game. And the rules for this new card game style fantasy football are a little bit different than your normal league in a few ways, which can be found on their website. So making sure you have the right kind of cards is important, and in league play you are able to trade cards to sell your cards for cash or to other league players, and users will have 135 points to spend creating their teams. Now the project is just getting started, so now is a great time to get on board. Check out their website and purchase card packs with the links I've included in the description of today's video. And if you're a big fan of fantasy football and also love to collect NFL football cards, this is a fun way to combine the love of both in a way where you can actually play to earn thanks to blockchain technology. Otherwise, huge shout out to NFTDRAFT for sponsoring today's episode. Otherwise, make sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, turn on post notifications, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.